traditional school. School is not designed to help you become successful. It's designed to make you a worker bee. Be a good, loyal worker for a company. So unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or somebody that absolutely needs to have that stinking piece of paper that tells you that you're smart, I'd pull out of school, save yourself a bunch of money, and gain some real life experience. If you want to be successful.
All right. All right. So that was not planned by any means. I'm Jeremy Marquez, and before I jump into it, I wanted to play that on this recording because, guys, the normal school system, the kindergarten, the 1st through 12th, that go into college, it's a system. It's a conformity to be able to create workers, right? Be able to have factory workers, the old school methods, and there's still a huge need because of the systems and things that are in place. However, I knew, and that's not the subject, I knew from an early age, and I showed signs of early entrepreneurialism, that system, I didn't know the answer or didn't know why at that time. I didn't see, but I just didn't feel comfortable in that system. And in high school, when I started to gain a little freedom freshman year, more than, parents taking you to school or, micromanagement to get you to class, I started exploring with doing other stuff and learning how to live life without that system, the hustle, the grind, the streets, right? And so I wasn't necessarily from the streets, but at an early age, so freshman year, I used to have to take light rail to school, so the public transit, and I started not going to class and started doing other stuff in life, right? And what that equates to is many different things, but it makes me who I am. And I was able to explore different ways to be able to hustle, be able to grind, to be able to trap money. And I don't use the word make money because the only people that make money are in the mint, right? If we knew the law, we would know that we can't just make money. Now you can earn money, you can trap money, you can create businesses or systems that create influx of cash. And at an early age, I started making businesses. Anything that creates an income or is able to bring in coin, monetary, that type of thing is considered a business. And I was 7 years old when I created my first actual business. We had a lawn mowing service in our neighborhood over in Lawrence Park. I started off with parents' yards and getting paid a few bucks to do it, but then I noticed on my block that a little bit more than half of the neighbors, they had a lawn care service, so they didn't get their lawn done on their own. And what I noticed is they also saw me when I was out mowing my parents' yard, and so they kind of knew who I was. So I took a little bit of that to my advantage, being from the neighborhood, and I seeing that they were already paying for a service like that. So I did a little bit of research and kind of figured out what people pay for lawn care service, and I went after it. I went and knocked on a couple of my neighbors' doors with my lawnmower, with the rake, with a couple of things just out front, and knock, knock, knock. Hey, I'm Jeremy. I'm the neighbor kid from across the way. Would you like me to take care of your yard for you? I noticed you have a lawn care service. Would you like me to do your lawn instead of them? And one thing I remember right now when I'm verbalizing this is I remember to a T what I was really good at, and I'm still good at today, and I didn't realize at that time, is that pause after you ask for the close, right? Would you like me to take care of your lawn for you? Because the first one to answer or speak after that wins. And so I would be quiet and I'd wait for them to do something or wait for them to make an emotion. And I would find out what they're paying their lawn care, if they're paying $30. And I would say, okay, we'll do it for a little bit less, right? In a couple of, and when I say this, so after a couple of days, I had 5 or 6 neighbors that decided to give me a shot at taking care of their lawn for them. It went from just getting a few extra bucks from mom and dad to knocking on some doors, creating customers that knew I was going to come by at certain times to take care of their yard. A few of them even gave me access to their backyard. I recruited my buddy Jake because I knew that one, I didn't want to do all the work on my own, and two, I'd be able to do more if I had help. So I was already scaling that thing out. And I was 6 or 7, and I can say that confidently because we did it over on Samson. And when I lived on Samson, those were the ages I was that age. We lived over there until I was about 9 years old. The lawn care service, it only lasted really that summer. We started it like in April, May, and we did it through the summer. Later that year, Jake ended up moving. And even though he didn't start as my partner, just different life stuff, whatever. But, and then later on I would do it here and there, but that was one example of one of the first businesses I started when I was not even 10 years old yet. And we had a name for it. Later on, we made flyers. And then the summer after, and even the summer after, I would bring it back to life a little bit, but just more of like a hustle. And it was always just a hustle. But when you're 6 or 7, that's starting a business, right? We had flyers. We created little business cards. We had marketing plans. When I say we, mostly me, but I would put flyers on the telephone pole or whatever. When people are out walking, they can see. And even at that time, I remember strategizing and creating plans in my mind of how I knew that other neighbors, they were paying for a service every month. And I would strategically think of ways to get them to switch from that lawn care service to mine, right? Taking to advantage, one, my age, and taking to advantage, two, that I'm from the neighborhood. I was able to create more just dialogue to be able to have with them when I was talking to them to get them to consider firing their current lawn care service, which was an actual legitimate business with employees, and opting to go with J Lawnmowing Men. And again, I was 6, 7, 8 years old. So fast forward a little bit, fresh out of school, I didn't go and, start a company right away, but I jumped into sales and marketing right away. Okay. One of my first real jobs when I was 17 years old, after a little go at Del Taco, I got a job at this place. It was a boiler room, telemarketing boiler room. A friend of mine that I went to school with, David, he had shared some stories about how he had this job and he would go from like 4 p.m. to 8, and it would be like Monday through Thursday, and he would talk on the phone, and he was making more money at his job doing that than most people that were our age, right? And so he would share about it. They'd pay him every week. And so that planted the seed in my head. And then when I found a similar job because I was looking in the newspaper. That was back in 96, 97, 98, when they still used to post jobs, and that would be the best place to go find a job is in the Sacramento Bee, the newspaper. So, you go straight to the sales or, that little section, you find it. And on that ad, I called that ad up that day on an afternoon, and that person who answered the phone, whoever was hiring, they brought me in that very next day for an interview. I was 17 years old. I remember to a T, because this is one of the moments in time that really shaped toward the direction I was going to go professionally. Now, the company itself, it was just a telemarketing room ran by another entrepreneur. Now that I look back at it, it was a business of theirs. They had a room full of people making calls. And so the business in general, they had contracts. And this particular service, they hired me. It was like a debt consolidation type thing. Okay. When I got brought in for this interview, it really wasn't that. It was interesting, to say the least, right? I was 17 years old. I just knew that my friend had a similar job and he liked it. And I knew that I didn't want to go work in a restaurant. Okay. I knew that. So I showed up. I was on time. I was even early. I sat there in the little waiting room. I kind of got a chance to observe people talking on the phone. I still wasn't quite sure what I was doing exactly, but I got brought in. The lady sat me down. And first thing that she did, prior to meeting, is she had me fill an application out, right? And then secondly, she had me read something. Okay, she wanted to make sure that I could read. And then once she saw that I filled the application out and I had proper, handwriting, and I could read, she had me read a paragraph of something. She told me the hours, and then she asked me if I'd be available. And I said yes, and she hired me on the spot right there. Okay, so basically at that time, all you need to do is be able to read, write, and be able to show up on time. And so that very next day, it's like 3-day process. I look in the paper, I get the interview. The very next day, I start, right? And that very first day, just to paint a picture in your head, I'm walking in. They sit me down to a trainer, or basically just another employee who had been there a little bit longer than me. And they just told me to sit there and listen to her and observe, because by the end of the day, I'm going to be doing what she's doing. Now, at that moment, I would assume, big picture, some people, when it comes to types of roles are going to be jobs at 17 in that type of a scenario, may have backed off at that time. But me, I thought it was exciting. I had just looked in the paper. I had just got hired. And now I'm getting ready to learn how to do something. And I'm going to start right now. Like I'm a little bit, nervous, but I'm excited. So I'm sitting doing next to a lady. I think her name was Kathy. Okay. Kathy was probably in her 50s. And I know, just my assumption, because I'm an observer and I pick up on people, was that she had her feeling about her job was that she may not have liked her job, but she was decent at it. But she just gave off the vibe that she really didn't like being there too much, and she was there to get the job done and get out of there. And I just sat and I listened to her and watched her do a few calls, watched her write a few things down. And I was watching because I knew that she knew how to do it. And if I was to pick up on what she was doing enough to be able to do it on my own, that I'd probably be able to keep my job, because she had been there for a while, right? And that was my goal, right? I wanted to be able to have the job, be able to make some money. And so I sat next to Kathy. Kathy had a few successful calls, and a couple hours had gone by. The shift was like a 4-hour shift, it's like 3:30 to 7:30, something like that. It's a call center. So I think it's probably about 6 p.m. and the manager, who it was who had hired me on, sat me aside and asked me if I was ready to give it a shot. And yeah, I was ready. So they gave us a piece of paper, which was our script or our outline. And what I was doing was basically calling consumers that had credit card debt. And I was asking them, about their credit card debt. And the solution that we were providing was a way for them to be able to reduce their credit card debt. We would charge them a fee. And my job was just to get through the script, ask a couple of questions. And if they were interested in moving forward, transfer them over to an advisor, or not even an advisor, but more of a confirmation. And then they would confirm, and that would be it. And I would be getting my hourly wage. And then every time I had a successful sale, I would get a bonus, right? So not only at that, I was 17 years old, I was getting paid to show up and then also every time that I was successful, I'd get a bonus or a commission. And then sometimes they would do like spiffs. And so the picture I'm trying to paint here is a lot of kids at that time, they were working at McDonald's or Del Taco or whatever. But me, now I jumped into a whole different realm. And so I show up, and as long as I'm doing my job and I'm good, I get bonuses. And then sometimes they give you cash money every day. Like, I was loving it. Okay. By the end of the day, I had a couple of successful calls, and now I had been introduced to the sales and marketing world. And guess what? Now I figured out a way to where I can go I had a job, but it wasn't just like you're worth $8 an hour or 10. No, I get that hourly wage, but depending on my performance and how well I do, I can get paid more. That's all that mattered to me at that time, right? I was a good communicator. The way I was raised, communication was always there. the drive and the hustle, that's in my DNA. Okay. And so now I realized that big picture when it came to school and, the normal go off to college, that's not the direction I needed to go anymore because of what I was already had from birth. And now learning a few different skill sets, being a salesperson, I can do anything. Fast forward now to 2023, 41 years old. That's what this channel is going to be talking about, what we're doing today. But that's where I got my start in the sales and marketing world. Thank you for watching.